God, the referee. They're gonna stop this. They're gonna stop.
Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Bro, Terrence Crawford really hasn't beat nobody other than Errol Spence Jr. that went through a car crash.
And who did you beat, Ryan? Devin? Devin with the assisted aid of performance-enhancing drugs?
Other than that, who Terrence Crawford has actually beat? Name one guy that he beat other than Errol Spence that's well known.
You notice how he puts an asterisk on it. They have to be well known.
He beat 6 world champions, Ryan, 6. Only one of them was well known, but well, that's still 5 more than you beat.
I think the Spence one was pretty impressive.
But name another one. Sean Porter that was washed.
He was on his way out. He's on his way out, yeah.
Who has he beat? He hasn't beat nobody, bro. He's not gonna beat nobody, bro. Terrence Crawford is not no, he ain't like that, bro.
And you are deliberately missing the weight, then testing positive for a performance-enhancing drug afterwards. We're supposed to believe that Terrence isn't like that, but you are.
You're a coward.
Terrence Crawford is an overhyped bum, bro. I'm sorry. Somebody gotta say it. You're an overhyped bum, bro. I'm looking at the camera right now. You suck, bro. Just stop acting like you're like that. Stop stealing boxing money. You're wasting everybody's money. You're not entertaining, bro. You're boring as come see me in the ring if you think I'm talking shit.
You are talking shit, because you would never, ever fight Terrence Crawford.
You'll go on every single podcast that is a podcast, say anything, say everything, but what you won't do
Under any circumstance is fight Terrence Crawford. You wouldn't do it because you're a coward. You had all this stuff to say to Caleb Plant on the internet, online, but when you went outside, weren't you surrounded by security?
You knew he was going to be there, just like you knew to have security all around you.
The difference between you and Caleb is he went to the same fight you did without an entourage to help him and without a protective shield, a protective wall of security guards, because you're just a coward.
A pussy.
A bitch. Do you know how many people would love to get their hands on this twerp?
They'd wring his neck. Forget about a boxing match.
Ryan isn't a good boxer, and the only high-profile win he had, because he doesn't have it anymore, it's tainted by his doping fiasco, was the win over Devin. And a lot of people aren't going to qualify that, because you blew the weight, you had to blow the weight to do it, and you had to use roids.
There's a social commentary somewhere in there as to why so many young people look at a piece of shit like Ryan and they like what they see. Maybe they see a bit of themselves in this coward,
this bigot, this racist, this Islamophobe.
I'm watching a podcast, and I'm not even looking at Ryan. I'm looking at the two hosts.
They don't believe you, Ryan. Nobody believes you. The only reason they're even talking to you is for the metrics, and perhaps they shouldn't. Perhaps they shouldn't enable a piece of trash like you to have a platform.
We should just leave you to your own devices, to your own boxing skills. I can't wait for him to come back.
No, I don't like Ryan Garcia. I'm not a fan of his boxing because his boxing sucks.
You suck!
You haven't accomplished anything in the sport, Ryan.
You won't.
You weren't a world champion at 135, or 140, or 147, or wherever in between there you were campaigning. You weren't a world champion then. You're not a world champion now. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Garcia's entire career comes and goes and he never sees himself become a world champion because he doesn't have what it takes. His safety net seems to be the notoriety from the internet, the money that makes him,
the fame it gets him,
and the drawing power that comes from it, which allows him to make that money. But money comes and goes. Richer people than you,
wealthier people than you, have burnt through all of their cash, and you think you won't with your substance abuse problem, your gambling problem?
Oh, because you're doing all right now, you think it's always going to be that way. After a couple of years and you've burnt through all that cash, you'll be back in Victorville, sucking dick for a cup of coffee outside the local 7-Eleven, because you suck.
You're trash.
People apologize for you here and now while they're still interested, but today's youth has a notoriously short attention span, and they get bored. They get bored fast.
They'll get tired of playing with you.
Young people tend to feel invincible while they are still young, and Father Time has yet to tap them on the shoulder.
Ryan feels that way.
Temperance of a child with no impulse control, taking to his social media, constantly taking to his social media while he's under the influence of narcotics and alcohol.
Nobody's got to do nothing to Ryan because Ryan's already doing it to himself.
Playboy boxer / future train wreck poking the bear. What is it with these young fighters like Ryan and Teofimo, who know underneath it all they can't hold a candle to Terence Crawford and Terence's boxing, yet they constantly have a go at him? Is it because he's viewed in many circles as the big dog, or at least one of the big dogs? You youngsters want to pretend that you can high box with this guy?
You're only popular with kids and weirdos because you're a weirdo.
Nobody in boxing thinks Ryan Garcia is anywhere near the level of a Terence Crawford.
Nobody thinks that. Ryan himself doesn't think that.
You're nothing.
Pussy.
You're garbage.
You won't do shit.
You say you'll fight Terence Crawford, then go on and fight Terence Crawford. He's free. I'm sure Turkey would pay for it. If you mean business and you're serious, that fight can happen, but it won't.
Because you're a coward.
Like your father. That's where you learned it from. Like your coward-ass father.
Like coward-ass father, like coward-ass son.
This is the guy was supposed to teach you how to be a man? That explains a lot.
Two cowards.
I don't really even get my ass whooped that bad, to be honest. I mean, I got dropped once, and I kind of pretty much surrendered on the body shot because I had no energy left. I had no, power left. I didn't have nothing to give, so there was no point in fighting. But as far as the boxing match,
he's a quitter too. Wordplay in play to hide his resolve. This is a fighter with no redeemable qualities. A person with no redeemable qualities.
Saying the kinds of things he said about the groups of people he said it about. The way he carries on.
This is not a good person. And he's not a good fighter. He's not even a good fighter.
He's shit.
Garbage. My instincts tell me that Ryan can make some cash. Oh, he can definitely still make some cash. But it's entirely possible that he goes his entire career without having accomplished anything. And as far as the cash, the money he will make, he'll burn through.
That won't last. Nothing does.
Not smart enough to do anything else. Not good enough.
He knows it.
Credit to the hosts of the podcast that actually had the stomach to sit through this spiel from this moron.
Poser.
He's on borrowed time. In some ways, we all are. But it's the candle that burns the brightest that also burns the fastest. Oh, yes. Even the brightest stars in the sky eventually burn out. And you think this retard won't?
I can't wait for him to come back.
Be seeing you, Ryan. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, a lengthy statement from Floyd Mayweather on the heels of his latest exhibition match that did not get rave reviews and did not bring in big numbers. Retirement isn't about slowing down. It's about living on your own terms. I've worked hard to build a life where I can choose my adventures, and if those adventures still bring in multi-millions, even better. Success isn't something you retire from, it's something you refine. Exhibitions are my way of giving my fans, old and new, the opportunity to witness my greatness on any stage I choose. That's what any successful businessman and boss would do. It's okay for Jeff Bezos, who is 60, Bill Gates, who is 68, and Warren Buffett at 93, to continuously build their legacies and wealth, and they're celebrated as smart businessmen. But when I, a black man far younger in age, choose to do the same, somehow it becomes a problem for naysayers with nothing to their name. Bottom line, there's too many of you busy pocket watching, while I'm busy still creating wealth and legacy.
I guess that statement was for anyone who was critical of his latest exhibition match with John Gotti III. There were a lot of people,
they thought the whole thing was terrible. They thought Floyd's got a lot of nerve expecting people to pay per view to view something like this.
He says that people are pocket watching him. No, there are reports circulating that once again, you're in trouble with some jeweler. Earlier this year, they said you were in trouble with a jeweler in Dubai. Now, it's a jeweler in Miami.
I ain't the one manufacturing these stories. That's what's out there. So when people see what's out there, and then look over and see that Floyd, in many ways, is still boxing. They're exhibition matches, but they're still exhibitions in boxing, that he hasn't really moved on to something new, something different.
He brought up all these old white guys to say that how come nobody questions them? How come nobody stigmatizes them?
Well, nothing that they ever did made you question as to whether or not they've fallen on hard times. But there have been questions about Floyd for years now, and the frequency of exhibition matches he stages seems to accent those speculations that are you boxing in these exhibitions as often as you are because you've fallen on hard times.
He's trying to make it seem like he's being racially profiled.
But that ain't it. I haven't seen any of the projects that 50 Cent has been working on since moving on from hip-hop and being a recording artist, and thought to myself, well, here's a guy who might be going broke. Here's a guy who's fallen on hard times. I never looked at anything 50 Cent's been up to and thought that, or Jay-Z.
I never thought that.
Because nothing that they've been up to communicates that, whereas Floyd...
Technically, you didn't retire, and that's why people say that.
You're trying to make it a race thing when it's not a race thing. In fact, it just seems like you're trying to make it about something that it isn't, so we don't have to address what it is.
Are you going broke?
50 said you did, and 50 said that years ago. Now, does a Floyd Mayweather go broke the way that regular Joes like me and you go broke? No, not exactly, but it's entirely possible that the overhead of his lifestyle and his poor spending habits might have saw him burn through a lot of the cash he made, because when you're retired and you're no longer fighting the Canelos and Cottos and Pacquiaos of the world, bringing in those boatloads of cash while you spend it
To replenish the reserve.
you burn through it that much faster because you're no longer bringing it in. Floyd says that he's trying to give a younger generation the opportunity to see his greatness. But if you've seen these exhibitions, there's nothing great about them. Deji, Don Moore, Chalmers.
John Gotti III 2 times? You needed to do that with that guy 2 times?
There's nothing great about it. And being honest with you, because of the level of celebrity that Floyd Mayweather amassed when he was an active fighter, you expect better of him. You expect that he won't waste his time with D and E-list celebs like John Gotti's grandson.
That if a Floyd Mayweather, someone of his stature, is going to put together an event, an exhibition, it will provide more in terms of entertainment and quality than what these exhibitions are providing. It just looks like you're throwing shit at a wall, hoping something sticks, hoping someone buys it.
Using what remains of the fandom that you amassed within boxing to continue to make money from boxing that you're supposed to be retired from.
If he wants to do exhibitions, he can do exhibitions. Nobody's saying that he shouldn't, but the exhibitions we're seeing.
You expect better of him. You absolutely do, and you expect that Floyd, more than most, should be able to read the room. That you put these exhibitions behind a paywall, who do you expect to buy them?
Who do you think wants to see you waltz around the ring with these people?
This lengthy statement, it just feels like he's trying to make it about something that it isn't, so he doesn't have to address what it is.
So we're a week away from the boxing match that nobody asked for, right? And the UFC event that everybody will be watching. Canelo's fighting Berlanga. Another snooze fest. They're trying to sell a pay-per-view for $90 and $500 minimum in person. It's just robbery at this point to pay for another lame Canelo fight that always goes the distance against a subpar opponent.
In his last fight, he went the distance with your fighter, what's supposed to still be your fighter, Jaime Munguia, who will be fighting on the top-ranked ESPN side of things in his next fight, and I still really don't understand why. Are you implying that because Canelo didn't knock him out, he's a subpar opponent? Is he one of the subpar opponents that you're talking about, that Canelo doesn't knock out because he didn't knock him out?
Oscar De La Hoya, former boxer turned boxing promoter Oscar De La Hoya, hates Canelo Alvarez so much he's actually urging boxing fans to watch the UFC show, watch the MMA event, and not the boxing event. That's how much Oscar hates this guy.
Perspective is key. Everything that Oscar De La Hoya has and everything that Oscar De La Hoya is came from boxing.
So when the retired boxer turned promoter goes to boxing and tells people to watch UFC instead of boxing, he must really have an axe to grind.
Last I checked, him and Dana White don't even get along.
But I guess that Oscar's hate of Canelo Alvarez is stronger, even stronger than his hate of Dana White, that he's trying to do him a solid. Reports indicate that the ticket prices for the UFC event at the Sphere have been slashed.
A far cry from how everything got started. Remember that Turkey said they were going to eat Canelo, that by staging their UFC event the same night as Canelo's fight, one would cannibalize the other. I told you that likely won't happen.
They thought they could eclipse him. Apparently not.
And now it's to the point where Oscar himself is urging boxing fans not to buy Canelo's fight. I'm curious what this Edgar Berlanga fight is going to do at the box office. I am, because it's not a fight that I'm excited about, and I actually am a Canelo Alvarez fan, and believe it or not, I am going to buy it.
You just said you're not excited about it.
I'm not, but I can always do a live watch along, stream that live, order a pizza, take it in, make the money back, and see Canelo Alvarez knock this guy out. I can always do that.
That makes me wonder how many people out there are of a similar mindset, that perhaps they're not all that excited about Canelo versus Berlanga either, but it's a tradition that if you're a boxing fan around this time of the year, you're watching boxing.
And seeing the active effort from Turkey, from Dana, now from Oscar, to suppress Canelo Alvarez, has that left his core supporters even more emboldened to continue to support him because so many people are coming after him? I wonder what this fight is going to do at the box office. There is also the added benefit of Edgar Berlanga being of Puerto Rican descent and trying to bring his Puerto Rican audience to the table too. You never know.
I understand that he doesn't have the foothold over the Puerto Ricans that, say, Felix Trinidad did, or even Miguel Cotto, but they are a fiercely loyal fan base when they want to be. Are they going to be loyal that night? Are they going to show up and show out in the numbers? We'll see.
Because it seems like the more they try to push Canelo Alvarez, the more Canelo and the more his fans push back.
On one end, you have people that are going to support Canelo regardless of who he's fighting, and on the other end, it's a tradition. It's the decorum that around that time of year, that weekend is for boxing.
Oscar needs to let it go. It's been 4 going on 5 years since Canelo separated quite unamicably from Golden Boy Promotions, but that was 4 or 5 years ago, and let's not beat around the bush. You can see that Oscar's still raw about it. Otherwise, why would you still be coming after this guy? He's moved on, and you haven't.
He's finally found someone that he hates more than Floyd Mayweather, because those of you that are old enough to remember will remember he used to give all this energy to Floyd because he never got that rematch with Floyd.
He doesn't spend as much time on Floyd as he used to. That energy, he saves it for Canelo.
Though to what end? He's not coming back. We can all see what you're mad about, but it's over.
It's done. Move on. Find the next Canelo Alvarez.
Because it's not right.
Get some of the talent scouts from Golden Boy out there and find the next Canelo Alvarez in Guadalajara or Mazatlan.
If you really wanted to get back at him, if you really wanted to stick it to him, that would be a better way to do it. Show him that you've moved on.
Because all you're showing him is that you haven't. And his departure from Golden Boy has crippled your company.